Hello, everyone. Welcome. We are here to break down UFC 313. It's going to be a fantastic card. We got 12 fights so far. Before we jump into that, I do want to announce this Thursday at 9:15 p.m. Eastern Time, we have the panel coming back. And usually we do this for every pay-per-view, right? The odd numbers are on my channel. The even numbers are over on the Couch Warriors channel. And normally I can't announce the guests right away because we don't have the guests already figured out. But as it stands right now, barring anything crazy, this Thursday night, I've already got our guests lined up, and I know you've been wanting to hear about it, so here we go. Obviously, me and Couch, we're going to be there because we're the hosts. But we've got two very special guests, all right? Special guests. Key 3 is going to be joining us for the first time on the panel, and someone who hasn't been around in a long time on the panel is Uncle Weezy. So, two fantastic guests. Key 3, Uncle Weezy, joining myself in the Couch Warrior. That's this Thursday. So, guys, make sure you tune into that. It'll be on this channel. We'll all go over our stuff together. You're going to get more in-depth analysis from me here, but then there you'll just get some kind of fun banter, and it'll probably take way longer than this video. So tune in, have some fun, jump in the chat. We're going to have some fun. But also, another quick thing. We are coming off of 3 winning weeks in a row in terms of our bets, so I'm feeling good, riding high, all that good stuff. So if you want to check that stuff out, no pressure. I don't care. Doesn't matter to me. I mean, it helps the channel, don't get me wrong, but look, as long as you're tuning into the videos, I'm happy. The links for that stuff is in the description, so feel free to check it out if you like. If you decide to join, you can cancel at any time, and it's not very expensive. So go ahead and check those out if you wish. Let's get into the first fight. It's a last-minute addition to the card. Chris Gutierrez takes on Jon Castaneda. Now, the thing you want to notice here, 145 pounds. This is not the weight class that both of them fight at, and that's because both of them had different bouts scheduled at different times, and here we are. Castaneda was supposed to fight last week. I believe he made weight, and then the fight got called off. Douglas Silva de Andrade did not make weight, or there were some complications or something like that. And anyway, here's Castaneda. And Gutierrez was originally scheduled to fight Jean Matsumoto. Matsumoto was then moved up to fight Rob Font a while back. Here we go. So this is where we're at now. That's why we're at 145 pounds, so that makes sense. Both these guys 3-2 in their last 5 fights, but we're going to start on the Jon Castaneda side, breaking him down. He's a good striker with good forward pressure. He's got good volume, but his style's kind of wild, and that can be good because it's unpredictable, but it can be bad because it can cause him to get caught with some stuff. So a lot of stuff to like, a lot of stuff to be a little weary about when he's fighting a guy like Gutierrez. We'll get into that in a minute. Dude's a good wrestler, though. He will mix his takedowns in the middle of a striking exchange. So, like, the guys will be in there trading or whatever, and he'll just drop and change levels. That's something that he's going to need to use. That's his key to victory here, is mixing in these takedowns mid-striking exchange. If you're just shooting takedowns at range, you're not taking Chris Gutierrez down very often. But if you're able to mix him in with the striking, that's when you're able to get it. Get him when he's off balance. Get him when he's committing to a shot. Get him when he's throwing a leg kick, something like that. So there are some paths for the takedowns for Castaneda, and I think that's his best path to win the fight is mixing in the takedowns. I'm not saying he needs to hold him down and that's how he's got to win. Mixing him in, though, is going to help. He's a good scrambler. His arm triangle is by far one of his best moves, and it's deadly, right? It's deadly. He put out Miles Johns with that, I do believe. So, I mean, if you're getting guys out like that with an arm triangle, it's impressive. On the other side, Chris Gutierrez, I do believe he's going to be the better striker here. And he's a solid striker all around, but the leg kick, that's what you want to look at because he's got some of the best leg kicks in the game, guys. I know that it's what everybody says, but like they're absolutely nasty. And I don't know what it is about his leg kicks that make them so deadly. Like, I understand there's guys like Alex Ferreira, who we're going to talk about later in this card, but that dude's a light heavyweight. This dude's typically a bantamweight, and he's just like obliterating guys' legs. So those leg kicks are absolutely nasty. He's got pretty good volume. You don't think about it because you just think of the leg kicks, but he puts up good numbers. Decent power when he lets the hands go. He can counter strike really well. He controls the range, and that's how he's able to land those kicks. And when guys come in, that's when he hit that counter strike. Does a good job there. He feints a ton, and that helps him set some stuff up. And his striking defense is pretty good all around. But if you're going to beat him, you got to get him down. Because if you can take him down, he can be held down. Now, he's got decent takedown defense, and he is hard to get down if you're just shooting takedowns. But like I said, that's why Castaneda's got to mix those in the striking exchange. But will it be too little too late? If they stay at striking range, Gutierrez is winning this one because he's going to be able to hurt the leg. He's going to slow down the movement of Castaneda, and that's where the hands come in. But he does keep fights close, does Chris Gutierrez, except for the times when he just, hits a spinning back fist or something wild like that. We remember a few of those. But ultimately, I got to go with Chris Gutierrez here. I don't like the back-to-back weight cuts for Castaneda. I know it's 145. He's still cutting weight, though. This dude doesn't walk around at 145, I promise you. So I'm going to have to go with Chris Gutierrez. I don't like the back-to-back weight cuts for Castaneda. I don't like the fact that I don't like the fact that Gutierrez knew he was going to be on this card, or at least presumably, but they were just looking for an opponent for him. Whereas Castaneda had no idea, right? He last week thought he was going to fight. So there's some stuff that I like and dislike for both guys, but ultimately a lot of the extra circumstances make me feel better about Gutierrez. So let me know what you guys think, and I will see you next week. We're in the middleweight division. Ozzy Diaz takes on Djorden Santos. Now, if you remember, Diaz started his UFC career at 205 pounds. Now he's at 185. I think it's a much better weight class for him. For Diaz, he's 3-2 in his last 5, 5-0 in the last 5 for Santos. When we look at Santos here, decent striker. He's going to come forward. He's going to work off of his jab, just kind of sticking that and coming down the lane. Decent leg kick, pretty durable. He doesn't do a lot of flashy stuff. The guy sticks to what he knows. He does just keeps it simple, and it seems to work. Obviously, he's 10-1 on the career, so it's working pretty well. Decent grappler. Again, doesn't do anything flashy, doesn't do anything crazy. He's a bit of a grinder, but he's got decent takedown defense, and he'll stuff the takedown and then come around to the back. Don't know if it'll work that well for him in a fight like this. I don't think Diaz is shooting any takedowns either, but at the same time, like, I don't think he's just going to be able to, push Diaz down off of a failed takedown and take his back either. So there's that. I think we end up getting a striking match for a lot of it, unless Santos is the one that's initiating the takedowns. On the other side, for Ozzy Diaz, the dude is a striker pretty much entirely, right? Good forward pressure, good power, works the body pretty well, decent grappling, and it's not because he's like good at it necessarily, because his takedown defense isn't the best, but he's really hard to hold down, and that can wear guys out because they'll have to shoot takedowns on him a lot, and he starts really quick. I like the move back down to 185 pounds for Diaz. I don't think he wanted to be at 205. I think it was just kind of the UFC offered him the shot, and he said, sure, why not? So he's an underdog here, pretty decent size one. I'm going to take him. I'm going to take Ozzy Diaz, and I could look like an idiot for that, or I could look like I know what I'm talking about. We'll see. We'll find out on Saturday. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you next week. We are in the featherweight division. Mairon Santos takes on Francis Marshall. Now, for this one here, Marshall is 3-2 in his last 5 fights. Santos 4-1 in the last 5 fights. Now, when we look at this one here, Francis Marshall, see, he's been around the UFC a little bit longer than Santos, obviously, so that's going to give him a bit of an experience edge. He is a good wrestler, and that is going to be his best path to victory here. He's got a solid double leg, decent top control, and he can scramble really well. That's what he needs to do here to win this fight. Now, in the striking, he's all right. He's decent, right? He's got good forward pressure, volumes there. He hits pretty hard, like decent power. But he's unpolished, and his striking defense isn't there. Thankfully, he's durable, and he can walk through some shots, but you're not winning his fights on the scorecards, eating a lot of shots. So there is the problem for him there. On the other side, Mairon Santos, he's a far better striker. Solid striker in total, good teep kicks, picks his shots really well, controls the range. That leg kick is absolutely dirty. It is just going to blow apart a leg if you're just going to let him keep landing that. So good feints, very dynamic attack. Got a good clinch as well, lands the knees there. It's the takedown defense that's tricky because in space, it's actually pretty good. But once you get him up against the cage, that's where he can falter. And if Francis Marshall starts getting Santos up against the cage, he can absolutely win this fight. But outside of that, it's Santos. And that comes down to, like, what do I want to pick here? I've got to go Santos, but I absolutely see a world where Francis Marshall gets Santos up against the cage over and over again and just rinse and repeats the takedowns as Santos gets back up, rinse and repeat. So be cautious on the big favorite, but I'm taking Mairon Santos. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you. 170-pound matchup here. Carlos Leal takes on Alex Morono. For Leal, he's 3-2 in his last 5, 2-3 on the Morono side. Now, interesting one here. Interesting because Leal came in on relatively short notice against Fakhretdinov in his first UFC fight. Looked pretty good. A lot of people thought he won. Judges went to the Fakhretdinov side, but it was a good fight, right? For Alex Morono, dude's just kind of been taking whatever. Like, they'll short notice fight here, short notice fight there, take this fight here. It doesn't matter. They're just giving him whatever, and he's done to mixed results, as you can tell by the 2-3 in the last 5. So, interesting spot for both of these guys. Sophomore outing, and been around for a long time. Just, you never really know what you're going to get. So, let's break this down. Carlos Leal, good striker. Good power, good forward pressure. That's what you want to see from him here. He's got knees that he uses to close the distance really well, and he will come in with a barrage of just straight punches as if he's walking downhill. That's something you want to see for him in a lot of fights, and I think in this fight that could help him out quite a bit because you can use it to back up a guy like Morono. In the grappling, he's got good takedown defense. He's got good grappling overall. He can mix in his own takedowns, and honestly, I think that might be a good path here at times. Start with the striking, things like that, and then mix in a takedown because a guy like Morono who's going to let you take him down because he's got good jiu-jitsu. I think if you do that towards the end of the rounds, you can cement those rounds even if they're close. Good ground and pound as well. He doesn't necessarily commit to the ground. So like if he cracks a guy and they're on the ground, he won't just like go into their guard and start working the ground and pound. No, he stays kind of standing and just kind of leans over him and starts throwing punches like so. And that gives him the option to back out if they start trying to engage in some, jiu-jitsu play with him, and he doesn't want it. So if he senses that Morono's got the better jiu-jitsu, he can maybe say, you know what, I'm not going to commit to that and stay up and land his shots from there. Because that's how you make a guy fight your game. And he's very good at doing that with the ground and pound. On the other side, Alex Morono, good striker, good volume, good combinations, and a good leg kick. He's going to circle off really well, and he's going to start just landing these combos, putting out volume, and getting up on the numbers. That's what he likes to do. Tons of leg kicks, tons of volume, right? Good jiu-jitsu as well. He'll jump on submissions and transitions, even off the takedowns. If somebody's shooting a takedown on him, he'll jump for the guillotine, which guillotine shouldn't work at this level, but sometimes they do. Good scrambles, like I said. He's got the ability to do all that stuff, but the problem for him is his takedown defense and willingness to work from his back. That is what can cost him fights. In fact, that has cost him more than one fight in his UFC career. For me, I got to go with the side of Leal. He's obviously a big favorite, but I just think that in this matchup, he has more ways to win. I think Morono either needs a guillotine or potentially volume-based decision. I just don't see it happening. So I'm going to go with Carlos Leal. But let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next one. Next, Bruno Ferreira takes on Armen Petrosyan. Petrosyan 2-3 in his last 5 fights, 3-2 on the Ferreira side. When we look at Armen Petrosyan, dude's a solid striker. Now, he's going to keep his hands low, but that's mostly for his takedown defense, and that's a good thing. But it's a bad thing because, we saw him get knocked out in his last fight. Sure, it was a spin back fist. That'll knock out most people, but if he had his hands up here, it sure would have helped. But either way, dude's got accurate kicks. Very good at mixing the volume of those kicks up. Good combinations. He moves well on the feet. The guy's ultimately a very good striker all around. Good kickboxing, things like that. But like I said, takedown defense isn't the best, but he does work to get back to his feet really well. It shows that he, in camp, works a lot on getting back to his feet when taken down. On the other side, Bruno Ferreira. He's a guy you don't want to exchange in the pocket with. He's a good striker. He feints really well, darts in and out of the pocket extremely well. He can fight out of either stance, but the power, that's what the game changer is. This dude hits like a truck. Good grappler. He can scramble really well, and he's got nasty ground and pound, and he's going to start fast in fights. I think Petrosyan is the better striker overall. But I think Ferreira has more paths to win, and for that, I'm going to take him. I think minute-wise, on the feet, there's going to be a lot of time where it's going to Petrosyan. But I think Ferreira is going to be able to win some big moments on the feet and steal rounds or even get a finish. So I'm going to go with Bruno Ferreira to get this one done. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you next fight. This is a bit of a short notice matchup, much like another fight on this card. But this one, Joshua Van was originally scheduled to face Bruno Silva. That fight's off. Joshua Van stays on the card. Rei Tsuruya was supposed to fight somebody early February. Name slips my mind right off the top of my head, but he was supposed to fight earlier February. That fight fell out. He now steps in to fight Joshua Van. And so we got prospect versus prospect here. This is a good fight. This is actually probably one of the fights on the card that I'm most looking forward to seeing how it plays out. In this one here, Rei Tsuruya, he's undefeated at 10-0, 5-0 in his last 5 fights. That's how undefeated works. Joshua Van, 12-2. He's 4-1 in his last 5 fights. Now, this is going to be interesting because I don't think I need to tell you that Rei Tsuruya is going to start fast and Joshua Van is going to start slow. So that's interesting right there. But we'll cover more of that here in a minute. Let's start with the Josh Van side. What is Josh good at? What does he struggle with? Things like that. So first off, striking is going to be worlds apart. Josh Van is going to be the better striker. He's going to come forward. He's going to establish his jab and start working the leg kicks. That's how it starts. He's got pretty good power. He fights behind this slip and counter style where he'll kind of slip to the outside, throw his shot, slip to the outside, throw his shot, or put together a combo after he slips. As the fight goes, he starts to build that more. But he's the type that, because he's kind of a smaller guy, he likes to slip and use that to come forward and letting punches sail over his shoulder type of deal. So he's just going to kind of work his way in, slipping shots and starting to land his as he comes in and start to put it on guys. Good at working the body, but his leg kick defense, it's not that good. So if he's fighting a good leg kicker, that could be a problem for him. Thankfully for him, he's not. He's fighting a guy that wants to grapple him the entire time. He's a decent grappler in his own right. He can mix in his own takedowns if he needs to. He will not be doing that here, I'm pretty sure. He is active from his back, and his takedown defense is tricky because it starts out kind of rocky, but it gets way better as the fight goes on, and it's because of the pressure he's putting on these guys, the way that he's kind of building into the fight. So early on, he will probably be getting taken down. As the fight goes, it'll be interesting to see if he can start stopping those takedowns because he is fighting an elite grappler. Now, like I said, he starts slow. That's why this kind of sucks early, but his cardio is great. So the dude just keeps building as the fight goes. So late in the fight, Josh Van all day. Early in the fight, we got Rei Tsuruya, who he didn't want to strike whatsoever, which is good and bad because he knows what he's good at. He knows he's a good grappler. He knows that's his best path to victory. He doesn't waste time striking. And like, he'll throw some strikes, don't get me wrong, but like such a small amount that it's really hard to know what he's even good or bad at because he just doesn't want to do it because he knows where he needs to get the fight. That's a sign of a fighter with good fight IQ, but it would be nice to see him being able to set up the takedowns with the strikes. Hasn't really needed to so far, obviously, 10-0. So there's that. And he's out-grappled some really good grapplers on the way here. So that's impressive. So anyway, Rei Tsuruya, solid grappler with good takedown volume. He's shooting a lot of them. He's relentless to get the fight to the mat. He knows that's what he needs. Good scrambles. He works to advance position. The ground and pound is there. Sometimes he works more for the control, but the ground and pound is there. He will go after it once he sees an opening, and he's very good at taking the back. He starts quick. Early in the fight, he is going to get takedowns. That's what I'm thinking here. But as the fight goes, Josh Van takes over. So round 1, round 3. Round 2 is the swing round. Do I think Tsuruya can finish Josh Van in the first? He could, but probably not. Van's a tough guy. His submission defense seems pretty good at this point. There was a time in his career where maybe I would have said, yeah, Rei Tsuruya is going to sub him in the first. Now I think it's probably going to hold up a little bit. Dude's worked on his grappling quite a bit. Round 2, like I said, swing round. Josh Van's going to probably win the third round at a high clip. Could he finish Tsuruya in the third? I think he could. I think he starts ripping the body in the third, and I think that's going to start hurting Tsuruya. So it's possible he finishes him. However, it's also possible maybe Tsuruya banks the first 2, Van's seeking a finish in the third and doesn't get it, and then Tsuruya. So this is a closer fight than the line might suggest. But because of the late upside for the finish for Van, I'm going to slightly lean on the Josh Van side. But this is a fight where I'm cracking open a nice cold root beer, kicking my feet up on the coffee table and enjoying this thing because I want to stay so far away from this. 2 prospects, 2 guys that have worlds of potential in the division. These guys are the future of the 125-pound division, and I firmly believe that. So I'm going to pass on this one altogether. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I'm passing on it, okay? Don't let anybody tell you that, hey, 138's got to bet on. No, I'm not betting on this fight. No. I mean, maybe, but I'm not going to bet on a side. Like, I'm not going to bet a money line side, okay? You let me know who you think. I'm taking Van slightly, but if Tsuruya wins, I won't be upset. We got an undefeated fighter that's a prospect in the division, and I like to see that. So let me know. I'll see you in the next fight. We got some heavyweights next. Curtis Blaydes tries to defend his spot against Rizvan Kuniev. Kuniev, 4-0 and a no contest in his last 5. That no contest is because he popped for the roids, so that's something to think about. On the other side, 3-2 in the last 5 for Curtis Blaydes, but he is fighting some of the best guys in the division, so take that for what you will. When we look at these guys here, how do they match up? Well, they're both grappler skill set guys, but can strike a little. So let's start it for Kuniev. Solid grappler, cage push, likes to grind. That's what he's going to do best, and that's probably his best path here is just to grind out a win, being boring as he can, grinding up against the cage, wearing on Blaydes, because Blaydes is going to be defending takedowns. So if he can just stay up there, grind on it, maybe get the body lock, start working some stuff there, look like he's trying to get takedowns, he could get a lot of control time doing that because he will stick to a body lock. He will push up against the cage and will make it boring. And if he does that, he's got a real path. If he gets to the mat and he gets on top, that top control is good. His side control, he'll work to get into the crucifix. And if he does that, he can actually get a finish. I don't see that being super likely, right? I don't see him getting to the crucifix on a guy like Curtis Blaydes, but I do see this as a big possibility. Now in the striking, he's decent, right? He's got a good front kick. I like his front kick, but he has 2 ways that he closes distance. Earlier in the fight, when he wants to close the distance, a lot of times it's going to be a nice knee. And he's got a good knee to close distance. Knees are hard to block, right? Because for anybody that has ever done this before, blocking a knee, you really can't. You kind of have to get out of the way of it. Because even if you block the knee, first off, it's like a wedge. Because when you look at your knee, we'll use my elbow. It's a similar concept, right? Elbows are just smaller knee joints, right? It's a wedge in itself. So when it strikes whatever you're blocking with, however you're blocking, it wedges its way through. And that alone obviously makes it hard to block a knee. But also, it sucks to block. They hurt no matter what, even if you block them. So knees, when he enters like that, that's a good way for him to close that distance, get in on somebody, and it works well. However, this one has worked well for him in the past. It's just not his best move, is he'll start to swing wild to close distance when he needs to get that gap closed, and maybe throwing a knee takes a lot more effort than he wants to give out. So sure, it can work for him, but I don't think that's what he wants against Curtis Blaydes. So this could go good or bad for him. I think the knees are a good idea. I think swinging wild to enter is a bad idea against a guy like Curtis Blaydes, although Blaydes has been chinned in the past, so it's possible. Now, when we look at Curtis Blaydes, the dude's a very solid wrestler, right? He's got good takedowns that he doesn't ever use, at least not anymore. He's good top pressure. If he does get on top, that ground and pound, he'll work those elbows right over the guard on his opponent, and it's brutal. We've seen him just absolutely demolish people that way before. He's got pretty good takedown defense. Now, guys like Jalin Almeida were able to get him down, but who isn't Jalin Almeida taken down realistically? So there's that. But he's got good takedown defense otherwise. Decent striking. Power's there. He's got nice long straight punches, and he can put together decent combos. Yes, we've seen him chin checked, but it's heavyweight. So it's like everybody's going to hit hard. So it's not like he necessarily has a bad chin. It could just be the fact that everybody hits really hard. And he's not getting dropped by every single shot he gets hit with. So there is that. That said, I think he's the better striker by a pretty significant amount. And because he is the better striker by a significant amount, and I think he can stop takedowns, short of him getting controlled against the cage, I think Curtis Blaydes wins. Yes, he could get chin checked, but I think more often than not, he's going to be winning the striking exchanges. And I think he's the one that's going to be controlling the grappling. So I'm going to take Curtis Blaydes to get this one done. Good fight, though. He's a big favorite, so do with that information what you will. See you in the next fight. Up next, we have Mauricio Hufi takes on King Green. King Green's 3-2 in his last 5, 5-0 for Hufi. This is an interesting one because it should be a striking matchup for the bulk of the fight, right? I don't foresee either of these guys shooting a ton of takedowns. Maybe we see one, but it's unlikely. Now, when we look at a guy like Hufi, solid striker, tons of power. This dude is powerful and accurate, and that's what makes him very good. But he can be a bit patient. Now, that can be good or bad. It can be good because obviously he's not getting reckless, doing anything silly. It can be bad because you can lose minutes just being too patient looking for your opening. And against a guy like King Green, that could be an issue. Am I right? Because Green's going to be putting out volume, which we'll cover in a minute, but you just don't want to get down on the numbers. However, he's got plenty of power to make up for the lack of numbers if need be. I mean, the guy can put you out. Now, when we look at his striking skills and his style, both of these guys are going to use that shoulder roll to defend the strikes. Now, they do it in different ways because Green is going to use that from a very boxing-heavy stance, whereas Hufi is going to kind of use it in a different style where he kind of gets the shoulder up here like so, but he's not heavy on that lead leg like you're going to see King do. What we're going to see is a lot of strikes up the middle, a lot of 1-2s, the front kicks, things like that. Now, he does come around the outside at times, but a lot of the strikes up the middle are where it's going to start, and he'll stay there until he starts really getting that range going. Got good takedown defense, so if Green wants to start shooting takedowns, he's got pretty good takedown defense. On the other side, for King Green, dude is a slick boxer who has very good head movement, and he needs to because he keeps his hands very low. However, he uses that shoulder roll really well, does a good job at stopping the power shots from landing because he'll roll with them or they'll hit the shoulder and kind of glance off, which, okay, that's one of the things that drives me the most crazy about striking numbers in the UFC. I don't want to go on a big long tangent here, but let me know if you agree with me in this or if you think I'm being silly. I don't know who's counting these striking numbers, but they're just never even sort of accurate. Not never. They're almost never even sort of accurate. I say not never because sometimes it's pretty easy to count it. But what do they count as a strike landed? If a person clearly blocks it with their arm, does that count as a significant strike landed or not? If it's partially blocked, to what extent, to what amount of blocking is where they don't count it as a strike anymore? Or do they just count it anyway? It's so hard to know because sometimes you'll look at the numbers and you'll be like, there's no way that dude landed 40 significant strikes that round. Almost all of those are blocked, but they're still counting it. It drives me crazy. Like if a shot lands on Green's shoulder, is it going to count as a significant strike landed or is it going to be blocked? I don't know. It drives me nuts. It drives me crazy. The strike numbers are stupid. Whoever's counting them is stupid, and I hate it. So that's my rant over. But either way, ignore the strike numbers. They're dumb. But Green's going to probably have better volume here. The guy's throwing punches from odd angles. His hands are down low, and he's punching up like so. That was kind of a weird way to do that. But like he'll be punching from down here, right? He's punching from down low. And that's hard to get a good range on early on, right? And then as the fight goes on, when you're starting to get tired and you got this guy in here putting his face like that, making fun of you and stuff, you get frustrated. Green can take over. The guy's good like it. He can wrestle. We saw him shoot a takedown against Patty. That was a bad idea. Patty's a good grappler. Nobody's going to give him credit, but the dude's a good grappler. But defensively, he's got a good sprawl, and he can scramble with some of the best of them. So for King Green, I don't think he needs to wrestle here. I think he needs to strike, but I think he needs to be up on the numbers to win this fight. Now, can he do that? Absolutely he can, but he can also get absolutely chin-checked. Now, here's the deal. I see this going one of two ways. One, Green is going to be slightly losing the moments in the first 2 rounds. Like, he'll be up on the numbers and then lose the moments, and then like, he'll be down 2 rounds. He probably needs to finish. He's going to come on hard in the third. Green's going to come out there and just volume like crazy and start really landing on Hoofy, kind of like he did against Fiziev, who's also fighting later on this card. Green looked great in that 3rd round. Just wasn't enough. And then Hoofy will get the decision 29-28. Or we see Green landing some shots, and then Hoofy's going to start hitting with like the left side, the left hook. Because if Green gets caught with anything, it's left hands. And I can see that being a problem. So either way, I think Hoofy wins. I do. Green's a live dog, don't get me wrong, but I think Hoofy wins. I think if you're going to play the Green side, you might as well just play the point spread just in case, because it's definitely more likely, and you're probably still getting plus money. But that's just my opinion. Taking Mauricio Hoofy, I don't think that's a hot take. He's like a minus 700 favorite or something like that. 600 favorite, I don't know. Either way, let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next weight. We have Amanda Lemos taking on Iasmin Lucindo. Lucindo is 4-1 in her last 5, and at 23 years old, that is extremely impressive because she's at the UFC level, and being 4-1 in her last 5, that's good. That's real good. Now, on the other side, Amanda Lemos, she's getting up there in age. Don't get me wrong. She's what, 37? So 37? I have it in my notes. Forgot to write it up here. That's all right. But she's still 3-2 in her last 5, and she's only losing to elite fighters. Obviously, Zhang Weili beat the brakes off her, like a life-changing beating, but she still looked good since, right? So I take that back because Virna kind of ragdolled her too. But those are different styles and different matchups to this one here. Those are the highest of levels. You know where Virna's ranked? She's in the top 3. Do you know where Zhang Weili is ranked? She's the champion. So losing to those fighters, it's not like you're at the end of your rope necessarily. For Lucindo, she's looked great though because she's 4-1 in her last 5 at 23 years old. So this is 2 fighters at different spots in their career, and we're kind of going to see where the impasse is, right? For Lucindo, solid grappler. I think it's her best path to victory here. We saw what happens if somebody can get Lemos down and flattened out, and she kind of will get stuck there. She used to be better at getting back to her feet, but I don't know if it's kind of an energy conservation thing where she doesn't want to waste the energy trying to get back up because she knows she's going to need it when the next round starts or what. But she hasn't seemed as active to get back to her feet as Lemos. So if the grappling, getting those takedowns for Lucindo is on the table, that's a big win for her. And the body lock is what she likes to do. She's got great top pressure. She works to advance her position, and she will work in some pretty good ground and pound. But the thing is, if you need to get to a body lock takedown, you have to close a lot of distance, and you got to be able to get your arms around their body. And when you're fighting a striker like Lemos, that can be dangerous. We'll cover it in a minute, but that can be dangerous. Now, Lucindo's a good striker in her own right. The girl has good combinations. She can counter well. She's got good power, and she's got pretty good head movement. So she's a complete fighter, but she's still not quite refined to the level that she needs to be at the UFC, to be at UFC champion level. Don't get me wrong. She's doing great. She's 23. But she hasn't fought like the best of the division. But she has the tools. It's just, can she put them all together? Can she do that at the highest level? We're going to find out a lot of that here in this matchup because she's fighting Amanda Lemos, who, solid striker, tons of power. She'll stick the jab extremely well. That counter hook is absolutely dirty. She will put you to sleep, put you to the grave with that hook. Good leg kick as well, but she has been backed up and her output can be low. If somebody's coming with a lot of forward pressure, she's willing to back up and counter strike and hit that hook, which works fine, but you're going to probably be losing minutes there. Her output, sometimes it looks better than others, but a lot of times it's kind of the cardio thing. Her cardio will fade, and for whatever reason, it just seems to just keep doing that. But so the output can be a little rough. But at the same time, if she's cracking you, she's winning moments. And we saw what she did to Djorden, where she just kept dropping the girl. Now, don't get me wrong. That fight was competitive, but if you were looking just damage base, Lemos beat the brakes off her, right? So if she can do something similar to that here, Lemos is going to have a lot of success. In the grappling, she's got a quick guillotine. She used to work to get back to her feet pretty quickly when taken down, but other than the guillotine, she's not offensively wrestling very often. She's not super dangerous off of her back. It's kind of just in that exchange. Honestly, I think she needs to keep it on the feet. I think she can do that here because I think the body lock's going to be hard to get to. I think we're going to see a lot of counter hooks from Lemos. I think she's going to be sticking the jab at range, and then when Lucindo gets tired of getting jabbed in the face, she's going to try to come in, and that's when we're going to see step back, left or lead hook, from Lemos, and that's going to be the shot that wobbles Lucindo. Not necessarily knocks her out or anything, but makes her say, oh, that was a bad idea. And then we're going to get a striking exchange. And even though I think Lucindo's good in the striking, I think Lemos is better. So I'm going to take Amanda Lemos see if she can turn back this up-and-coming prospect, and if she does, she'll do so as an underdog. So that's what you like to see. Let me know what you guys think. I'll see you in the next. Candidate for fight of the night. Look no further. 155 pounds, Ignacio Bahamondes, Jalin Turner. This is going to be a fun fight from start to finish. But guys, before we get to the fight, if you are enjoying yourself thus far, maybe you learned a little something, maybe you're just entertained, hit the like button for me. I appreciate it very much. It goes a long way in helping the channel. If you hate me and you hate my content, hit the dislike button for me. It still boosts stuff, but you get to let that little bit of rage out. So let's break this down. Ignacio Bahamondes is 4-1 in his last 5, 2-3 in the last 5 for Turner. But there's a caveat there because dude darn near put out Moicano, but then made an idiot mistake and then got beat in the next round. I thought he might have beat Gamrot, but they gave it the other way. Very close decision loss to Dan Hooker. I mean, if you're going damage, like he literally broke Hooker's arm. So, I mean, like, could have gone to Turner there too. So, I mean, the losses, the record looks bad in the last 5, but it could be, those could have gone either way, right? But anyway, so let's break this down. For Bahamondes, dude is a solid striker. He's incredibly accurate, and that's one of the best things for him is his accuracy. Good power, good volume. He counter strikes well, and he can do it from either stance. He's got excellent head movement, and he can kick to all levels. Maybe not in this fight. He used to be much taller than his opponent, but like, who's head kicking Jalin Turner? You know what I mean? Like, the dude's head's way up there. But maybe he can, and if he does, I'll be impressed. But either way, kicks to all levels. Decent takedown defense. He kind of sprawls out and then looks for the front choke, and it works pretty well for him because, I mean, the dude's got long, lanky arms, and that makes front chokes a whole lot easier. The Darce, Anaconda, guillotines, but guillotines shouldn't work at this level. I don't know why they keep working. They shouldn't. At this level, they should not work. You should be able to defend a guillotine, especially when you're all sweaty in this cage. You should be able to slip right out with the legs, get across the body, and then you're safe, right? Maybe I'm just talking out my butt, but that's what I think. At this level, I'm not saying guillotines don't ever work, but when you're this high level, you need a little more control than a guillotine. But either way, Jalin Turner, good striker. Dude's going to come forward. He's got good forward pressure while maintaining his long range. Problem in this fight is Bahamondes also has long range, but he's good at doing that. Good volume, very good power. His knees up the middle, dude, love those. Those are great. Problem is, Bahamondes is much taller than his typical opponent. These guys are both tall. He's usually able to use that advantage because his opponents are lower and they're trying to work those body shots or they're trying to get onto the hips of him. He's not going to get just as tall as him, so the knees might be negated a little bit. Kind of like I said, the kicks to the head and stuff for Bahamondes, probably not going to be there. Knees up the middle probably aren't going to have quite as much effect. Sure, he can land the knees to the body, but I think he's looking to get that knockout. You know what I mean? Good straight punches, good grappler. I think if just grappling skill alone, I think Turner might get a slight edge, mostly because we just don't see Bahamondes go to the grappling. But yeah, good front chokes, very solid ground and pound. Takedown defense can be but he gets right back to his feet most of the time, right? So, good fight, really good fight. Both guys are very skilled. I'm going to take Bahamondes, though. I think he's got a wave of momentum. I think he's got at least as good, if not better, durability, probably better durability than Turner. I think he's got a little bit better striking. And I think that for Turner to get the win, he's probably going to want to put out a guy like Bahamondes, because if you don't put Bahamondes out, he's probably going to put you out. So I got to side with Bahamondes here. But Turner's live. Dude's very good. And I believe the odds are flipping as we speak. Bahamondes was the underdog. I think he'll be the favorite in no time. So we're taking him. Let me know what you guys think, and I will see you in the next new co-main event of the evening. It's Justin Gaethje taking on Rafael Fiziev in a rematch. But it's fairly short notice for Fiziev. I mean, for Gaethje too, because he was scheduled for Dan Hooker, but Dan Hooker, broke his hand or whatever, and Fiziev steps in. So it's more short notice for Fiziev just for the fact that he wasn't preparing for a fight. About 2 weeks, we're saying. And now it's a rematch. Now, the co-main was originally scheduled for 5 rounds when it was Hooker. It is now down to 3 rounds as far as I am aware. I don't think that changes much other than, less rounds, but I don't think that's going to play a big factor here, realistically. Because I think we're going to get a pretty good fight from these two guys. Both of them are 3-2 in their last 5. Both of these guys are they're looking to strike. They're looking to have a good fight. And I don't think it's going to be like, oh man, if we only 3 rounds, are you kidding me? I think after 3 rounds of these two going at it, you're going to get your money's worth. Let's put it that way. The last fight was great. It was a majority decision for Gaethje. I believe I cashed that ticket, so that was nice. I know a lot of people thought Fiziev won. I thought Gaethje won, but I also had money on him, so there we go. When we look at this one here, Fiziev, solid striker, right? He is coming off that knee injury. So take that for what you will. I don't know that it's really going to be an issue. I'm sure he's rehabbed it well. I'm sure he's done all that stuff, but it could be. It's something to take note of. Dude's a solid striker with very good movement. That's why I bring up the knee injury. Movement can change with bad knees, but very good kick arsenal. His striking speed is very, very crisp and quick. He does like to he has the first and third kind of mentality, right? Like Fiziev wants to go first. He wants you to throw second, and then he can come back with that third off of like some sort of a counter strike, basically. Like he wants to hit you, draw something out of you, and then counter strike with the third strike, and that's where he puts the real stink on it type of thing. That works well against a guy like Gaethje, and I'll explain that in a minute. So that's something to look at for the Fiziev side. And if you're on him there, that kind of style is something that you're going to want to be happy about, right? Dude's got good combinations. He often ends them with his kicks, which is good. He adjusts his striking style mid-fight, and he can make adjustments based on his opponents. Another thing that you want to see. Plenty of power, but the biggest problem for him is he doesn't really check leg kicks. Not very often. So that could be a problem, I guess, especially against a guy like Gaethje who throws pretty good leg kicks, which we'll cover in a minute. Gaethje took him down last time, which was wild. It was just like a takedown they didn't really plan on doing anything with, just to kind of secure what he needed for a win. But either way, typically Fiziev has good defense, and the takedowns he'll sprawl and then pull guys right up with like a crossface into a clinch. Underrated technique, honestly. So takedown defense is pretty good. For Gaethje, dude's a solid striker. Got good forward pressure. The block and return style. Now, this is what I'm talking about, because first and third, second, they're willing to play each other's game. He's willing to go second because he wants to block your first shot and return. A lot of times with that uppercut, and that if that lands, you're feeling it, right? The uppercut's brutal. Hits up, right up under the chin. Like, man, that sucks. Have you ever hit with an uppercut? It sucks. So anyway, the block and return. He'll block the shot and then fire back. Awesome. But Fiziev's coming back with the third. So you have to be ready for that. Especially with a guy like Gaethje who just kind of walks through stuff. He'll just kind of plod forward and walk through whatever you're throwing, keeps his hands right here. He'll block and he'll return, and then he'll just keep walking forward and going through it. The footwork is very just like walking this guy down, you know what I mean? Which has worked for him for most of his career. I mean, the dude's 25-5. So it's not like he's got a bad career. If you look at his losses, you're like, all right. I mean, he's only losing to the best fighters in the world. So, okay. Either way, good volume, good power, puts together combinations, the leg kicks. This is going to be his key to victory here. He needs to get those leg kicks going, and he can throw them in extremely close range, and I think that is going to be a key. Get into the pocket, wade through like he does, block and return with the uppercuts, things like that, but hit those leg kicks often, early and often. He is very much offense over defense. It's not like he doesn't block, because like I said, he'll block, but he'll just kind of just come through. He's not trying to get out of the way often. He'll just come through it and hope he can block it and take enough off the strike to land his own power shots. He can also overcommit on big punches. We've seen it before where he'll throw a big wild shot and get off balance or whatever. He doesn't do it a ton, but we've seen it before, and it can be a problem for him. Takedown defense is super good sprawl. The only time he really gets taken down is if he's overcommitted on a strike or something like that. That'll happen. But either way, I don't think either of these guys are shooting a ton of takedowns. If one of them comes out and starts just shooting a bunch of takedowns, I will be surprised. It's probably a striking fight. It's probably going to go the majority of the fight. I mean, we could get a finish, but I don't think it's going to be early. I think it's going to be a pretty competitive fight. Just like it was last time, it's going to be a competitive fight. I'm taking Gaethje. I think I'm going to do it. I am concerned about Fiziev going first, Gaethje blocking it, him throwing the return, and then if that return doesn't really hurt Fiziev, Gaethje's getting cracked, and that's going to hurt him a lot. However, I think the accumulation of the leg kicks, and I think the ability just to block and return and keep walking Fiziev backwards is going to pay off for Gaethje. So I am going to take Justin Gaethje in this one. He is an underdog currently, and he's taking the fight on more than 2 weeks' notice. So I feel like that's a pretty good bonus for him. So I'm taking Gaethje, but let me know what you think. Main event of the evening, folks. We have Alex Pereira taking on Magomed Ankalaev, the highly anticipated matchup that we've all been looking forward to for quite some time. This is for the light heavyweight championship of the world. But guys, last reminder to like this video if you're enjoying yourself. You've made it to the main event, so you're still here, and for that I appreciate you. But hit that like button, do me that extra favor, and I will appreciate you for an eternity. Now let's look at this fight. 5-0 in the last 5 for Pereira. He's the reigning champion, and he's looked very, very good since moving up to 205. For Ankalaev, 3-0, 1 draw, and 1 no contest in his last 5 fights. That's a wild way to keep that undefeated streak going. Yes, he has the 1 loss in the career. It's quite a while back, and he lost to Paul Craig by like 1 second left submission from the triangle. I don't think he's worried about a triangle off the back from Pereira. So there's that. But anyway, for Ankalaev, we've been waiting to see him get the title shot. We've been wondering how it's going to look. Let's break this down. Dude's a solid striker, is Ankalaev. He's got very fast kicks. He's got very good boxing combinations, but he stays extremely safe in the striking. He's not doing a whole lot, right? He's super patient. He can be too patient at times, but he's going to pick his shots extremely well. He's going to counter-strike well. He's going to throw kicks at range, and he's going to put in those boxing combinations when he needs it. But the one thing that is a big drawback for him that we saw in the Jan Blachowicz fight, the leg kick defense. This dude couldn't even walk. I thought he lost that fight. I know they scored it a draw. I don't see how you give it a 10-8. I don't see the 10-8. I thought Blachowicz won the first 3 rounds, lost the last 2 rounds. 3-2, you give it to Blachowicz. What do I know? Either way, I know a lot of people had money on Ankalaev, so they all thought he won, and they all thought the 10-8 was super justified or whatever. But, like, no, it wasn't a draw. I thought Blachowicz won. I also thought Blachowicz could have beat Pereira, and I had money on Blachowicz there too, so there's that. But either way, that fight was also close. Blachowicz is underrated, guys. Very underrated. Not the point of the video. We're talking about this fight. Now, for Ankalaev, the leg kick defense is a problem for him here, and the too patient, that could be good for him, actually. Taking that time, not engaging with a guy like Pereira could be good for him. But it could also mean that you're going to get hit and you're going to lose the volume battle. So there is that. But he picks his shots really well. He's got all of the tools he needs on the feet, and he's got grappling upside. Because the dude is a good grappler. Yeah, the takedown defense has shown really well. The top control's there, though. He doesn't shoot a ton of takedowns. Like, he really just doesn't shoot a ton of takedowns. And if he does, it's later. He doesn't do it right away. He's not coming out there, he's not shooting a double leg right off the bat, whatever. Takes his time. Like with everything he does. I bet this dude's breakfast lasts like 4 hours because he takes his time with everything he does, right? And when he's going to go to the takedowns, he's not rushing. But when he gets there, he stays there. He's got good top control, does what he needs to do, doesn't look to do anything risky. I think he learned his lesson in the Paul Craig fight where he said, wow, shoot, I got subbed by being a little hasty here. So we're going to slow things down even more. And that is his path to victory because if you see, I don't have anything written up here for the grappling. We don't really get to see Pereira grapple. Like, we've seen it a little bit. We saw it against Izzy. That was a long time ago. That was at 185 pounds. We don't really see it much. We saw it again in his first fight up there at 205 against Blachowicz. We haven't seen much since, and you got to assume he's been working on his grappling since. We don't really know, but it can't be as good as a guy like Ankalaev who has been grappling for a long time. Like, this guy's been a grappler. I mean, he's a striker, but he's been a grappler because he's in MMA, and he's been doing MMA, not kickboxing, for a long time. So the grappling edge is going to be for Ankalaev. It's can he get it there or will he get it there? That's the thing that makes the big difference. Now, on the other side, for Alex Pereira, he's a strong striker. He's probably one of the best strikers in the UFC. Tons of forward pressure. He will corner his opponents up against the cage. And it's weird. You're like, it's an octagon. How do you corner somebody in that tiny little corner? I don't know, but he does. He'll just get them stuck there. They can't go anywhere. And he just starts teeing off on them. And he stays just out of range of their shot and just starts unloading. He learned his lesson against Adesanya where he got a little too close and was just ripping body shots and things like that and then got countered. He learned his lesson. You see him keep a little more distance now. You see him, respect the opponent a little bit more now because he didn't before. He thought he had him dead to rights and he got caught. So we see him be a little better about it. He parries and traps hands. So when a guy's coming, he'll parry the hand, trap it, and then hit him with a hook or hit him with a jab, hit him with what they do. Does really good at hand fighting. It's something you like to see. He checks kicks, both leg kicks and body kicks. That's impressive. Not many people check body kicks. He does really well. That's something you want to see from Pereira. Tons of power. I don't have to tell you that. Dude hits like a truck. His jab to the body. This is underrated. He'll jab down to the body. And sure, you're like, oh, dude, leaves your face wide open. It does. But it also gets him to draw out that lead hook counter because what he'll do is he'll jab to the body and then he'll feint the jab to the body and get them to come up top like they're going to try to counter his jab to the body. And that's when he steps through and hits that big hook over the top or parries it and hits that hook over the top. And that counter hook is what puts people to sleep. So he set it up. The knees are there, the knees up the middle, the flying knee. We've seen him use it to finish fights. We've seen him use it to close distance and just back guys up. Does that well. Mix of single shots and combinations, but the leg kicks, early and often here is what he needs. Early and often. The big question is, can Ankalaev get this fight to the mat, or will he get this fight to the mat? And if he does, I think he's going to bank that round. But he's got to do that at least 3 of the 5 rounds and not get finished. On the feet, can Ankalaev win? Yeah. I mean, we've seen Pereira knocked out before. We've seen him hurt before. his chin looked a lot better against guys like Roundtree. But then again, he got like, was that the new gloves thing? Like, but I mean, he finished Roundtree with the new gloves, so that says something. But either way, I'm getting off topic. Point is, Ankalaev is very live in this fight, but I think Pereira's getting it done. I think the champion stays where he's at as champion. I think he's able to do what he needs to do. I think he's going to walk down Ankalaev. He's going to have more volume. I think he's going to chew up the leg. And I think he's going to be able to win enough of the fight that even if the takedowns are coming from Ankalaev, it's not going to be enough to get the win. I'm going Alex Pereira. I want to say by knockout, but I could see this one going to decision just because I could see every time he starts to get ahead and starts really hurting Ankalaev, Ankalaev will maybe take him down or push him against the cage or something and like save himself from getting knocked out. And that will do just enough to like, he'll lose on the scorecards, but won't get finished type of thing. I don't know how I think it ends, but I do think Pereira gets his hand raised more often than not. So we're going Alex Pereira to get it done. And still, but let me know what you guys think. Thank you so much for tuning in. I appreciate the heck out of you. Stick around, watch another video on the channel. I've got all sorts of stuff that's still relevant, even though the fight cards are not relevant after the week of. There's a ton of stuff, and I'll also see you guys Thursday for our big panel compilation. So come check that out. Thank you guys so much. Catch you down the road.